You know what sounds amazing?
An island adventure?
That's right. And that's what we're gonna get.
We're going to the Bahamas. No, we're not.
Or the Uncharted Isles.
Hey, you know what's there?
What?
Pain.
It's gonna be. I'm Rage.
I'm Sage.
And right now we are talking about Island Expeditions, another new feature added for the Battle of Azeroth expansion for World of Warcraft.
So, basic premise here. Azerite is popping up all over the place. This is the main resource. We'll get more on that in a future video. And gnomes and goblins have come up with stuff to find this. Well, there's these islands it's popping up on. So they ship you off. You and two best friends get to head off to whichever island you feel best suits you. And you get to go hunt for some Azerite.
Azerite, not to get into too much detail again, but it is the main economic fuel news source for everything on Azeroth.
Think artifact power, crank it up to 11, that's Azerite.
So you're after this stuff. So you can queue up for a scenario with two other players, as Sage mentioned, and it is a roll ad nauseum. Like, you do not have to have a tank, a healer, and a DPS. You can have 3 DPS, 3 healers, 3 tanks, whatever combination you want.
Mix and match. Try whatever you like best.
So the bonus of the first thing is you don't have to wait in queue very long.
No.
It's just going to fire off 3 people into this scenario and you're ready to go. And as the scenario loads, you're going to get off your boat. You're going to land on a random, kind of procedurally generated island. I don't want to say procedurally generated too much, but we'll get more on that here in a bit. And you hop off, and there will be, at one point or another island, it could be morning, daytime, dusk, different weather, and there will be different monsters on this island. There will be different puzzles for you to figure out. And the end goal of every island on these expeditions is for you and your teammates to find Azerite and score as much of it as possible as you can. This helps power up your character. It's very important. As Sage said, artifact power cranked up on 11. So as you land on the island, you'll notice the monsters. They'll drop Azerite because monsters are drawn to Azerite too. It is the lifeblood of Azeroth. Everything's drawn to it. Every race, every faction, everybody wants as much of it as they can because whoever has the most wins the war.
Yeah. And you'll have, treasure chests filled with it. Monsters will have it. Bosses will be infused with it.
And so you'll have different scenarios showing themselves. There'll be different things that you can interact with on the island, like a starfish or a clamshell or maybe a barrel full of explosives. You could pick it up, throw it, and stun an enemy for a while and increase the damage they take. So you might want to use that on the boss that you see on the island. You might want to use it on a pack of elites that aren't quite bosses, but together do quite a bit of damage. There are these things called shrines that'll be located on the islands. They'll give you random temporary buffs, but at a deficit cost. If it increases the damage you do, it will also increase the damage you take.
And these you can't just remove. If you grab it, you've got it for the duration of that buff.
You've got it for the duration of the island, I think, is how it was described at BlizzCon.
I think so.
Like, there's no clicking on this buff or debuff and getting rid of it. It is a choice, a conscious choice that you make. So you have to deal with these islands in different ways, different puzzles. One time there may be hosen on there, another time just aquatic crabs and another aquatic life on the beach. Another time you may show up and there could be Mogu, not Mugu. I need to order Chinese apparently. Mogu necromancers that are there, and they might have a portal open to a tomb down below the island, and if you click on it, you'll go in there, opening up a whole nother area to deal with. So every time you arrive here, it's going to be a different scenario for you and your team to figure out how to deal with the situation, to go as fast as possible, and to get as much Azerite as possible.
Yeah, and even if it looks like it's the same island, sometimes stuff can happen on the island that you don't plan for. Such as a pirate ship could actually stroll up outside. You could board the pirate ship and steal what Azerite they have down below.
So anything can happen, it's anybody's game. But to emphasize the anything can happen, Blizzard has added a new mechanic, a new type of AI to the game, and it is intelligent AI. And so I said as fast as possible. Why would you want to go as fast as possible when plundering these islands? Because as soon as you land, an opposing team of 3 NPC AIs or other players, if it's PvP based and you queue up for that, are going to land as well. And you're not only going to have to deal with the puzzles on the island and how you're going to deal with the different monsters and other things, but the other team. And this advanced AI is not like normal AI in World of Warcraft where you hit with something and it comes running at you to beat your face in. You will have to deal with these as if they are players. They can choose their abilities at random whenever they want to best specify their situation. So let's say there's an enemy rogue on the other team. You're fighting an elite mob. The enemy rogue may come over, instead of going after their own catches of Azerite and trying to get off the island as fast as possible, the enemy rogue may just split off from their group of 3 that they're dealing with stuff, come over, sap your healer while you're fighting a boss, and then go back to what they're doing. Another thing they could do is, well, you see them fighting a boss, and it's a rogue again in this situation. You come over to do some DPS to them. He'll stop beating the boss, turn around and blind you, CC you, and then turn around and just keep dealing with the boss. So imagine an AI that has all the skill sets and abilities and, you know, Trinity healer, DPS, tank systems that you have, and they're allowed to access whatever abilities you would in that situation.
Yeah, and they're not just going to play by a book, they're writing the book.
Yep, it is a bunch of algorithms stacked on top of algorithms in which they will see what you're doing and react to what you're doing, and it will always be a different experience.
Yeah, and, you know, there's no telling how strong these NPCs can be. Right now, Blizzard has 4 modes for this, 4 difficulty settings. You have your normal mode, which is probably going to be pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
Got your heroic, which is going to crank up the difficulty. Then you've got mythic, which is, you know, it has hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then PvP, which you can't really rate PvP on a difficulty scale because
it all depends on the player you're against.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this advanced AI thing, though. I think it's going to be an amazing experiment to see AI that a Deadly Boss Mods tracker can't keep track of.
Yeah.
To see an AI that will react to what you're doing and completely change what it's doing based on what you're doing. I mean, basically, it makes every decision you make on these island expeditions, you are now committed to the choices you've made. And there will be reactions to your actions. And it really makes you think on the fly how you're going to get it done. And as you go up in difficulty, the timer becomes something that you've got to deal with, and the enemy AI becomes something you got to deal with on a much tighter area of strategy to deal with, so to say. Now, the thing that I want to like side note here a little bit as we go off the island expedition system is this advanced AI. If you think this is just going to be one thing inside these islands, I think you're seriously mistaken. Blizzard tested Mythic Plus as an experiment to see how it went. Think about advanced AI. If this works, you could put this into world bosses. You could put this into elite mobs that wander around zones, that are aware of what all the players are doing and could attack them at those times. You could put this in future expansions in any of those scenarios, or even this. Imagine a mythic raid boss where there is no Deadly Boss Mods timer. This thing can access whatever ability it wants, whenever it wants, based on what you're doing, and it knows who's healing, who's not healing, what's going on and what's not going on, and it can decide to attack people based on those things.
Yeah, I think this really opens the door for a lot of new game development, experimental stuff. And it's certainly something we'll be talking about more in the future, speculating on, and kind of giving our thoughts on where we think this could go.
I think it has a ton of variable options that could go into play for it, that could make the game completely different.
Yeah.
Imagine as a tank, you're fighting a raid boss, and now you're not just tank swapping with your taunts. That mob may literally just be like, there's the highest healer, I'm going to turn around and smack them, and if you're not quick enough on your taunt recoil to get them back to you, your healer's dead.
Yeah, that is a very real possibility.
It could be, there's so much possibility from this. The system itself sounds amazing. It's a fast queue. It brings you in without having to queue with certain classes or types. You can queue with whoever you want, and then you can work with your friends to accomplish whatever levels you want. So if you find you're struggling on Mythic, you can back it down to Heroic and still be successful and have a challenge with this advanced AI system or PvP other players. It just sounds like one more layer on the cake of keep the player full of options of things to do. So now we've covered island expeditions, war fronts, you've got your dungeons, your raids, your world quests. There's always something to do in World of Warcraft, and it seems like they're just pushing that even forward with Battle for Azeroth.
Yeah, I think that's the theme of this expansion. Play the way you want, do what you want to do.
And there is no wrong answer. It seems like a very exciting system. Let us know your thoughts down on the island expedition system down below. Are you excited to get down there and start hunting for treasure and fighting monsters and dealing with an enemy team that is as tactical or even more tactical than your team is? I think it sounds amazing. Let us know down in the comments below.
We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.
Like and subscribe. See ya.